I don't want to get her involved in this. I want to ruin her life. Like it's something like this. I don't want her involved in this. Okay.
It made contact and shattered.
At some point, Chris locates what's called a dry bag.
Brian Laundrie's body has been found. Law enforcement had considered Laundrie the only person of interest in the murder of his fiancée, Gabby Petito.
That's all it is the truth. So there's nothing to hide in that coroner's report. There's nothing to hide by not having Callie take a polygraph. And if the truth comes out, and this was
reference to a missing 4-year-old, the parents have called me and advised that the mother had went for a walk, came home, now they can't find her. They've been yelling for her. She's been gone for about 10 minutes now.
Hello?
Oh, God.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for being here for another ATS live stream and live chat. Tonight, we are covering the DylanRounds case, and we have a little bit of an update, not the one we would hope, but we did hear that a neighbor around Dylan's farm has been arrested, I believe, or there's an arrest warrant out for him. Let me just play the clip and we'll get started right into the new information. He's still missing, however, so let me play my PSA announcement that kind of runs through Dylan and his stats, what he looks like, brown hair, brown eyes, all that. Hello, everyone joining. Hi, Punksy and Valerie, Delaney, Island Girl, Delana, thanks for being here. Carolina, I seen that you said you didn't get a notification. So I'm still in the process of being re-reviewed for monetization. And when you're not monetized on YouTube, they stop pushing your content, which is unfortunate when we're covering, missing persons cases. So if you guys could just like this live stream, I think it might help the algorithm, maybe push me back out there. But yeah, if you're not monetized, they're not going to notify you guys. And they're not going to push me out there until I get re-reviewed at the end of July. So all that has been a mess. I kind of pinned at the top of the chat to kind of explain a little bit of, why I'm asking for that, for you guys to like the stream more often and kind of share it if you can. Keep me out there as much as you can. And it's much appreciated. Plunder got demonetized and she got it back. So I'm sort of in the same boat in a way. A video got stolen of mine by like numerous channels during the Depp trial. So once a video has been put out there, like duplicated, it can flag YouTube, and YouTube pretty much says you're reusing content. They don't care who put it out there. If they deem it reused, then that's it. I got those other ones taken down because obviously it was a copyright strike, but I'm in the process. I'm going to have to delete a few videos, I think. So anyways, let me get right into the important stuff. DylanRounds was last seen at the Saddle Sore Bar in Montello, Nevada on May 26, 2022. On May 28th, he spoke with his grandmother over the phone, but that was the last time anybody had heard from him. By May 30th, Dylan was reported missing, and it was on that day that they discovered his Ford truck and his boots were on the property. He is 19 years old, around 5'11", and he weighs roughly 160 pounds. If you have any information regarding the disappearance of DylanRounds, you are urged to call 435-734-3800. Okay, so I feel like I've gotten a lot better grasp on this case. I've kind of been able to narrow down the facts, the timeline, things that we can rely on as being truth and factual. And then there's a bunch of stuff, which I know you guys know all about, the drama, the rumors, speculation. We'll get into everything because it's all relevant. Even if you don't agree with certain things that the mother has said or that the PI has said, I feel like in the grand scheme of things, it's all relevant because it paints a picture. Some of the rumors and speculation has been corroborated from locals calling in, and I have notes on the people who are from Montello and from Lucin, and they've kind of given their take on things. Can you hear me, Florida? I just want to make sure everyone can hear me. Oh, you're still, that's okay, Valerie. This will be a good live for you to join because we're going to run through some stuff and give you a better face to some of the names, etc. Because I'm all about the visuals. So I don't know. I think what I want to kind of talk about too before I start showing you some of the visuals. Hi, B. Wayne. Thanks for being here. Over the weekend, we knew that EquiSearch was going to be going in there and doing some drone searches. They were waiting to get the okay back from law enforcement. I never saw certainty if they actually did get the okay and they did fly in the drones. Does anyone in chat know if the drone, if they were able to get out there? The other thing is I have just a few audio clips that I figured I would play and all that. Let's see if I can get started with. Well, you know what? Let me just share. Oh, so I did a pre-recording of some of the facts. So I'm going to play that. Actually, no. I'm playing that update. Give me a second, guys. Yes. So this is from the East Idaho News Station. And it is titled, Arrest Warrant Issued for DylanRounds Neighbor. And I fast forward a little bit and we'll just get right into it, what he has to say. And obviously for fair use purposes, because I got to stay, you know, on the best behavior for YouTube right now. I'll be pausing and we can talk about what he's saying thus far. So this came out less than 2 hours ago. A neighbor of Dylan has, there's an arrest warrant issued.
To Dylan's disappearance. But here's what happened. The FBI went out there. Actually, the Box Elder County Sheriff's Office went out to the farm and began interviewing people, including a man named James Brenner. Brenner is 59 years old and was apparently squatting in a trailer about 5 miles from Dylan's property. He was squatting in a trailer. He did agree to speak with investigators.
So Florida, he'll explain all of it. It seems like it has something to do with firearms, maybe, but he's gonna read through the affidavit and kind of explain it. But so far, it confirms another speculation and rumor and things that locals have called in about on YouTube channels. And it's just backing up more and more the same fact that we all know that Dylan seemed to have been surrounded by a lot of criminals, a lot of SOs, a lot of sharks, pretty much.
And what happened was on the 16th of June, so just a few days ago, they went and spoke and served a warrant on Brenner's trailer. So I'm gonna read directly from here on the affidavit. And first, I want to say Brenner is a convicted felon. He has served time in prison. I believe it was 33 months in prison for possessing a firearm as a felon. Obviously, if you're a convicted felon, you cannot have guns. He served 33 months in prison for having firearms. He also has other felonies on his.
And just to remind everyone, we still are missing a, what was it, 40 caliber handgun that belonged to Dylan's father that Dylan had.
On his record. So the police spoke with Brenner, or Brenner lives about 5 miles from Dylan's property. On the 11th of June, Box Elder County Sheriffs asked that the FBI come and join the case. On the 16th, they searched Brenner's trailer. They found ball ammunition, ignition caps, black powder, speed loads, all related to muzzle loading. Those were photographed in the trailer. They were not seized at the time. There were no muzzle loader firearms located in the trailer at the time. That happened on June 16th. So the police go over, they search the trailer, they find a bunch of guns and ammunition. They don't take it. 4 days later, all according to the arrest warrant, on June 20th, a friend of Brenner's, who goes by the initials DH in these records, in these documents, DH was interviewed by the FBI and the sheriff's office. During that interview, DH told the police that after Dylan disappeared and after Brenner originally spoke with the police back on June 7th, Brenner brought 3 black powder guns over to DH's house and asked him to, quote, safekeep them. Brenner stated that he needed to do this for, quote, his own safety. And, quote, the last time he had trouble with the law, they took everything from him, and he did not want the things he had left to be taken from him. DH, the friend, agreed to store the muzzle loaders for him. Then DH gave those muzzle loaders over to the Box Elder County Sheriff's Office, where they were booked into evidence. So I hope all that made sense. Brenner is friends with DH. DH goes over to Brenner's house, says, I need you to store these guns. When he was asked why, he says, you need to keep them for safekeeping because last time the cops got involved, they took everything from me, and I don't want the things I have left to be taken. Right? Is DH says that Brenner also brought him a rifle, a .22 caliber rifle. DH said he didn't tell police the day before about this rifle because he had been owed money by the rifle's original owner, and he felt that he should have a claim over the rifle that Brenner asked him to store to cover the debt. He explained to police that the rifle had been in the trailer on the property where Brenner had been living prior to him living there by a person who owed DH money. A little convoluted there, but basically DH was owed money by the person who owned the trailer before Brenner moved in. Brenner moved in, took possession of the rifle. He then asked DH to store the rifle. DH didn't tell the police about the rifle because he felt that he had possession to it because the original owner owed him money. DH turned that rifle over to the FBI. It was loaded with 5 rounds of .22 caliber ammunition. So on the 21st, that very same day, the police went over to Brenner's trailer and they seized all of those original guns that they had been told about days earlier. So James Brenner, an arrest warrant issued for him. Police are very clear in here to not connect him to Dylan's disappearance, but it is interesting to note that one of Dylan's neighbors, that an arrest warrant has been issued, that he is a felon, that he had all of these weapons in his possession. He was asking his friends to store the weapons because he was worried that the police were going to come and take them. That is the new news.
Okay, so I feel like that pretty much summed it up, Carol. He was a squatter with guns, a felon on Dylan's land. And it just reconfirmed to me, like when he started talking about he didn't disclose this or that to the police because he felt like he was owed this or that because of, you know, just something in the past, like a money thing. It's kind of reiterates the other thing that everyone's kind of been talking about in regards to this area. And that's that everyone seems to kind of run by their own code of ethics and laws, I guess, their own everything there. But that they haven't linked directly to DylanRounds' disappearance, but it's interesting that another person around Dylan, hi Mandy, yes, has been, you know, being held or whatever. I feel like I'm just going to read through some of my notes while I share this visual and kind of timeline. Valerie, you said you were a little bit confused on things, so I put this together. I hope it helps. So thank you guys so much for being here. And for those who have just joined, thank you so much. And yeah, I'll probably be pausing on this because I recorded this before some of that stuff happened today and last night. So I have notes on Kurt's interview, and I have notes on some of the interviews from locals calling into YouTube channels. So let me get through this first, and then we'll get into the speculation, hearsay, things that have been kind of connecting as far as statements and all that. So again, thanks for being here, guys. In April this year, 2002, a disagreement takes place between Dylan and Don, a family friend who helps out on the farm at times. Don was questioning Dylan's decision to work on a washing machine before a pump, and as a result, Dylan and Don mutually decided to part ways. Essentially, Dylan fired Don. And then for those who heard or didn't hear today, Kurt in his interview pretty much came out saying Don quit. Don wasn't fired. So that was Kurt's perspective and take on it all. I've heard other people say that Dylan fired Don, and I've heard other people say it was a mutual thing. So just to throw that out there, what everyone's different take on it is, that's what it is so far about Don leaving the farm from working with Dylan. Wednesday, May 25th, Dylan tells his mother about a strange encounter with some guy who was barefoot and bloody along the roadside who wanted a ride to Montello. This person was later identified as Chase Venstra. Thursday, May 26, ECSO verified that Dylan was in. Anytime you hear me while I'm reading this, abbreviate things like BC, I'm pretty much doing the police department. So Bucks County or whatever it is so far, and we're dealing with multiple states. So that's the other thing, Valerie, in this case. And for those who are sort of still kind of laying out the foundation of this case, because it's super crazy, super quick. But yeah, there's multiple states involved. And now FBI is involved as well. So Montello via bank account usage. Thursday, May 26th, Dylan's last phone call with both mom and dad. Friday, May 27th, eyewitness, which is unconfirmed, saw Dylan in Montello. This information was relayed from police to the family, but with changing stories, it cannot be 100% reliable. Saturday, May 28th, 6:51 a.m., a phone call took place between Dylan and his grandma. He told his grandma he had to get his grain truck put away in the shop at the location 5 miles west of his farm to keep it away from the rain, and he would call her back. ECSO confirmed via cell phone data he was at or near his farm in Lucin for this phone call. So when he speaks to his grandmother, which this is something that's been all over the place as well. Mandy, I don't know. Are you referring to the arrest affidavit when you're asking, is Don DH? I was wondering that, but I don't know Don's last name. I was wondering that though. Thank you for being here, Amby. I'm so glad you made it. So the thing about the phone call that it has been all over the place is the mother has said in multiple interviews that Dylan called his grandmother. The mother has also said in multiple interviews that the grandmother called Dylan. So it's kind of been something that I myself and CDT have been like, I just want to know, because all these little details do matter because it is Dylan's last communications and all that. What I do have is that news report that came out this week, the most updated news and interview with her, I have her the journalist that spoke with her saying that another example of him saying Dylan called his grandmother. And it's kind of just been something that we've been wondering because, you know, it makes all the difference if he's in a hurry to get off the phone or whatever. Like it just makes a difference in my opinion. Let me see if I can find this audio clip. Hang on. Hang on. I'm trying to find it because there's just been multiple interviews, like that one that she did with the guy in the helicopter. She said it both ways in the interview, that he called her and that she called him. Then when she speaks to Duty Ron, she says he spoke with grandma. So she's kind of been like vague on it too. But I just feel like it matters ultimately, you know, who called who that day. But as of this week, we had her in that interview, and this is what she said.
West Box Elder County. Rounds was last heard from on May 28th when he called his grandmother. A month has nearly passed since that call, and his mother is frustrated.
Stuff like this doesn't happen without people knowing.
So take it how you will, but I really want to get some clarification on who called who that day, because a lot of people are just speculating, you know, was it a cry for help subtly or something, you know what I mean? Because he's calling her and said that he had to rush and get off. Anyways, I just wanted to say, because we've talked about this already on my channel and her channel, that we just want to know what the order of events was. You know, he sounded frantic. The mother also has said, because he needed to get off the phone to get the seed in because of the rain. It's just been like multiple things. And I just want to know, you know, what's going on. And here's a few audio clips too. Oh, actually, I'll save these for after we get through this. And hello, Mel Mac and CDT. Saw you guys come in. On Saturday, May 28th at 3:41 p.m., ECSO released the last cell phone data came from Dylan's phone at this time near his farm. 10 o'clock p.m., Chase Venstra seen on camera 200 miles away from Lucin. And the thing is too, crap, what was I going to say? Well, I guess people have said also today, Kurt, I think it was that, or I'm getting like the statements mixed up, but one of them, it was either Kurt or the local who called in on No Thanks, said that where Chase was really wasn't that far away. Like, yes, it was that many miles, but there was like a path or some way that he could go where it's really just like a little over like hour and a half. So that has been speculated on too, because everyone's sort of said on in the beginning that Chase was cleared because the mother was saying that in her mind, but law enforcement and Justin, Chase or Dylan's father has said, no, nobody has been cleared. And these pictures are from JLR, who is also on the case right now. And these are all the mugshots of Chase. So no one has been cleared. Chase, even though he's supposedly been on CCTV footage, he has not been cleared, but he's still being held because he had something warrant out or something. Candace said this on Sleuth Mom's interview. Sunday, May 29th, Dylan had not called his grandma back. So grandmother had Don, the gentleman who was fired by Dylan in April, go by and check and see why he wasn't answering his phone calls. Don and Jim, another farm helper, go to Dylan's farm and look for him, but he is nowhere to be found. Monday, May 30th. Don and Jim have not been able to locate Dylan, so they let the grandmother know. JD reached out to Dylan's mother to see if she had heard from him. She called around to other family members and no one had spoken to him. Dylan's parents drive to the farm to see if they can figure out where their son is. A missing persons report is filed by Candace with BESO during the drive down. They arrived to find the seed truck had been put in the shed. Dylan's truck was at his trailer and it had been pressure washed. The seat position had been moved very far forward to accommodate a shorter person, and there was no tracks or footprint. 90 minutes into the search, Dylan's boots were found tossed behind a pile of dirt 100 yards south from where the grain truck was located. BESO SAR takes the boots and places them in their patrol vehicle. Boots would not be sent to the lab until a week later. Tuesday, May 31st, family received a call from a citizen in Montello, Kurt, who used to work for Dylan, stating Dylan was being held in a specific location by Chase and another gentleman in Montello, Nevada. ECSO sent out 6 deputies, but he was not there and they searched the entire property. Okay, sorry. I'm still here. All right. Now, so SAR, let me fast forward a little bit. All right. Now that we've gotten the gist. Thank you, CDT. I was going to invite you up, but I know that you like to relax, and I'm like, I better not push my luck. I'll get her on another night. She can relax. She went live earlier today. You guys don't know, but going live, you know, I love to do it, and I know everyone who YouTubes obviously loves to go live, but it really is work. So let me just play some clips that stood out to me from the mother's interview this week too. Obviously, everyone knows that they've upped the reward. I felt like it was interesting to hear the mother say that a lot of the reason that they upped the reward so high and this and that was, you know, they were hoping that it being that high, whoever wanted to come forward and give information, it would be worth their while. They'd be able to possibly even relocate if they needed to. So I thought that if, you know, it's just, I just wish it would actually do that and get some answers, you know, like motivate someone to come forward. But it hasn't even been a week yet with the new reward. So we'll see.
Reward from $20,000 across the desert. His family is now upping the reward from $20,000 to $100,000.
That was kind of our thoughts on that was, you know, get somebody enough they can relocate themselves if they're scared to come forward for their own safety.
The Box Elder County Sheriff.
So that was something I found interesting and noteworthy. And for anyone who has information, I mean, if you do, that's enough money to relocate you. So take them up on the offer.
Specialized equipment and high tech.
Because that's going to be our best footprint. I mean, we can't find one on the ground, so maybe we can find something, you know, off of the stuff they can truly get off of his phone.
Dylan lived on a farm here in Lucinda.
So that's the other thing that I found interesting from that interview with the mother this week is they're really putting in a lot of hope and faith that they'll be able to get some metadata with the digital forensics, whatever they can get. I guess I've also heard that because that area is like government property, like fly zone or whatever, they have a lot of CCTV footage too that they'll possibly be able to pull from. We'll see. But I thought that that was interesting. But to me, I'm not going to get my hopes up because we've been talking about hoping for concrete digital forensics and evidence in the Summer Wells case, and we've already passed a year mark. And even with the parents contradicting their statements, this and that, and the 911 call from dispatch in that case contradicting things, we still haven't had an arrest there. So I don't mean to just be a Debbie Downer. I hope there's something on there, or satellite imagery from the government property, whatever. But I just have heard also in this case of DylanRounds and Summer Wells that there were areas that just get no service. Dylan and his father's calls were being dropped. And I think that was one of the things that had happened on his last communications with his son, that he was losing service. So I just get worried and nervous about what kind of digital forensics will be able to come up. And again, we don't have Dylan's phone, so whatever forensics is going to be coming from digital data, it's not going to be from his phone. So the mother says somebody knows something and they're just not coming forward. And I feel like everyone in chat really feels the same way, that, this area sounds very bad. It sounds very, we've looked at the stats, the crime rates, all that. It's all pretty much pointing to the same thing. And it could be so many different people because the associates there are just not very good looking. It's just very colorful backgrounds or whatever you want to say. So the thing also in my notes is, even though they did drain the pond, and apparently Kurt said today that the grandfather really wanted the pond drained and all that, but there was an interview early on where they had talked about slip marks being around the pond. So it made me curious what all that was about. So right now I'm not just after Kurt's interview, I haven't really cleared him, but I haven't cleared Chase either. How does chat feel about Kurt and Chase? Like, who is number one for you guys? Because I don't want to lean either way. There were things about Kurt's interview today that I just was like, he's lying, and I feel like chat was already picking up on his BS too. But then there's been things about Chase where I'm like, okay, yeah, clear motive, tweaker, needs money, robs people. He gave him a ride, so maybe someone didn't like that. It can go so many different ways. CDT says, agree, neither are cleared. Yeah, it's just I can't put all my eggs in one basket just yet, because I've kind of bounced back and forth since the beginning, like gut instinct, like, okay, like as soon as I heard about Chase, I was like, that's weird, the timing and all that. And then we hear about Dylan staying in the camper, blah, 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 blah. That whole aspect of Kurt's interview, I wasn't really, he wasn't really selling it well to me, the way that the things that he said. And let me just get into my notes for that. And these are going to be, I'm reading my own terrible handwriting, and I wrote these notes as the interview was going on. So I was just like, so yes, Mandy S says, yes, both suspicious. Doesn't sound like anyone's cleared, and I wonder if the mother has rose-colored glasses on. Sounds like Dylan had a second phone that hasn't been found. Oh, I didn't hear about the second phone. And that's the thing too, is like, I'm sorry, let's all remember back, or maybe there is people who are 19 listening. According to my analytics, though, there's not really that many. Who's gonna tell their parents about their personal and social life and all that at 19, you know? So the fact that Dylan's parents were kind of in the dark about it, I don't find unusual. And I feel like everyone has kind of agreed that, like, okay, yeah, you're not really gonna fill them in on every little thing. But the way that, sorry, I'm like adjusting the way, and I don't know who agrees, but Kurt was more defensive about being accused of being gay than he was defensive about being accused of having something to do with Dylan's disappearance. Did you guys notice that? And let me look at chat. To me, that was a red flag. Without even looking at my notes, I just knew. I was like, this guy wants to prove more and more, because he kept saying, like, those bastards that are saying these rumors about me, I want to prove them wrong. But it wasn't about him being involved with the disappearance. It was about him being romantically involved with him. And I was just like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, okay. That makes me think like there was something going on, the way he was so defensive. I come from a hometown like this, and when people struggle and see you're doing good or have more, it can create a bad situation where people plot against you. Yeah. And it would be easy to get somebody on board to be against somebody doing well like Dylan, because, like you said, just the area is the same type of people, down and out possibly, or even if they say that they like to live simple and this is the way that they live out there, there's motive for even those people to be involved with this. Maybe they wanted to keep to themselves out there too, but they wanted the handgun that Dylan had, or the money that he supposedly had, or, you know, there can go so many different ways. Yeah, the things, he could have just rubbed so many people the wrong way that, I don't know, that saw him as like a target, you know? Yeah, I hope that technology has been utilized too. Let me see. Carol said they can use specialized spy planes that fly at 20,000 feet and that can recognize areas of disturbed dirt. Yes, yeah, drones can do that too. So, and yep, and that's what they did in the Vallow case. So we'll see. This was a direct quote from Kurt today. I thought they all wanted to kill me. Oh yeah, okay. So he was talking to the YouTuber, Crime Time with Jess, and she was saying, everyone's saying hi to you in chat. Everyone's saying hi to you in chat, and he's like, they are. Oh, I thought they all wanted to kill me before my trial. And it was like one of the first like minutes of the live stream, and I was like, I wrote it down, but I'm like, trial? Is he like anticipating a trial? Like, I don't know. It was just the weirdest thing. But that was a direct quote from Kurt today. I don't know if anyone caught that. But he said he spoke to law enforcement, 10 or more, and he spoke to FBI. He said Troy got those scratches from falling off a three-wheeler, and the PI is claiming, no, he had those scratches before his three-wheeler accident, because apparently there really was an accident, but the PI is saying that the scratches were there prior. We don't have a definitive receipts or proof to prove either way, but Kurt also said that law enforcement took pictures. So they have pictures of these scratch marks, apparently. 1 second, guys. Okay. So the daughter of Kurt was the one that vetted this YouTuber and wanted, pretty much told her dad, Kurt, yeah, go out on there. We can trust her, blah, blah, blah. So I just thought it was strange that, if you have nothing to hide and stuff, why would you have to vet like the YouTuber? I don't know. He said Dylan was a hardworking young kid. Dylan didn't fire Don. Don quit. Dylan didn't have any tools, nothing to work with. He said something along the lines of that it wasn't a motor home, or it's not a camper, it's a motor home, and it's an expensive unit. It's like his second home. He said that Dylan was messy and that he would have to send him home. But just the way that he talked about the dynamic of Dylan being at the camper or whatever motorhome, it sounded very much like they were like living together. Like the way he described, like, oh, he'd be messy, or he liked the way that I made frozen pizza, like all this stuff, not word for word, direct quote, but like it was just very much like a either roommate situation or like literally like living together. That was the gist I got from it. I don't know. He was like, I don't know. It's just very weird. And that's the thing, is he like kind of downplayed him staying at the motorhome, but in the same breath, he was saying things like he'd have to send him home because he was so messy. Well, how is he around there long enough to like messy up things, and that, you'd have to like send him home? But also in the same breath, he was kind of downplaying the time spent together there and saying that Dylan would stay there, but he wasn't there. And it was just like not really adding up. I don't know how you guys took that. It just seemed very much like he was downplaying time together in the motorhome, but then in the same breath, he was like reiterating the way his habits were when he was there. I don't know. It was just, I feel like something more was going on between them, and it is what it is. So, Kurt was saying, I don't have to work. Like he was pretty much saying things like he's helping him out and he really didn't have to work, and that he was saying things like he should have cut ties with Dylan a while ago because he wasn't being paid enough for the amount of work and then the travel and all that it was going into it. It was just kind of weird because it seemed like he kind of was when he spoke about like, oh, well, I should have ended things a while with him because, I didn't need to be out there, but I was doing it to help him. And he was just not paying me what I felt like I needed. Like he just pretty much talked about how he did so much work and was getting little pay, but he didn't mind, really. But then at the same time, he did mind. But all this took place after they had talked about them being together romantically. Like it was sort of like he didn't like the direction or image, or maybe he wasn't being convincing enough, maybe to the YouTuber and all that, because he just kind of doubled down on, I don't know. He even said if he had known that he was gay, he wouldn't have associated himself with it because birds of a feather flock together, and that would have insinuated that he was gay. It was just very strange conversation. It was just very defensive, but just about that. Like he didn't care really that people were speculating that he had something to do with it. He seemed more angry and more adamant at proving that they weren't romantically involved. So the whole, he talks about how there's worthless people out there, and Dylan had a motorcycle, but it wasn't working. It needed to get fixed. Kurt knows a lot about Dylan's money. Like he spoke about the jobs that he was doing and he had recently done because he wanted to buy tools and all this stuff. He just talked a lot about knowing Dylan's financial business, pretty much. He spoke about how Dylan needed tires changed out on like tractors and stuff, and all that, was expensive and cost money. So you know, he was getting money from jobs and all that still from other farms and all that. To me, it just really sounded like they were living together, but just the way that he talked about him, it was just very doting, he spoke very highly of him. In the beginning, but like I said, as soon as things kind of talked about a romantic involvement, he was super defensive and just if he had known that, this and that, he never would have associated. Let me just get into some of the audio with Kurt today. And then I'll read notes again. I'll get back into the notes, but let's just take a minute and listen to this.
And I did read them aloud. So not exactly a secret, but you know.
That came through. My ex-wife called a psychic, right? So there's two people.
And guys, this little clip, she pretty much in chat wanted to know why did you, Kurt, tell Dylan's family that he was being held hostage? Remember that? And that Chase was involved, all that. Remember, everyone? Kurt made up some wild goose chase, and everyone, including the PI, was like, you know, why did he do that? I was going to write down the notes for it, but I was like, I can't even sum this up. This is Kurt explaining why he called the family and said that Dylan was being held hostage.
And my daughter related to me, my daughter Keisha, she's the one that asked her mother to do this, okay? Because she has faith in the psychic thing. I've never dealt with it before. She goes, Dad, let's just see what they come up with. We're 8-9 days into this. They haven't found nothing. Let's see what the psychic comes up with. She's pretty good. So that story got passed from the psychic to my ex-wife to my daughter to me. So it went through 4 heads at that point, right? 3, at least 3. You know how stories get changed.
Yeah, it's like playing telephone.
I did not say that he was being held. I did not know that. I said it's a possibility because the psychic said he is being held. He is alive, and that made me ecstatic. I thought, my God, he's alive. Time is of the essence here. We need to get on this shit. Because I'm like, what could the conditions be? It's 8-9 days into this, right? The kid be held in a cage or in a horse trailer or something, shitting himself, and they're throwing food to the side of him, throwing a jug of water in him to keep him last alive, right? That's what I'm thinking. It can't be good. It can't be good to hold somebody captive. How do you do? Dylan, that'd be like holding on to a mad dog. Because he would fight. If he got a chance to run away, he would. So how they're holding him, in my mind, I'm thinking, I don't know how they're doing this. But I was just glad that she said he was alive. And that made me just happy as hell, thinking, my God, this kid's not dead. He's alive. We need to move fast on this. As fast as we can. Get your ass to Montella. They kicked over the sagebrush. Every sagebrush over there was him. And I said, are you going to talk to the sagebrush some more out there? You're going to get your ass to Montana and talk to the people that know Chase, who everybody suspects did this. Yep. And this little shit in town called Robert Aviles, he was involved. He admitted that. Because they went, I said, I don't know where Chase is. I had no clue where Chase was at the time, but I knew where Robert was. My brother was sitting over there watching. We seen him outside. I said, you stay right here. I'm going to get his parents here, and we're going to get the cops here, and we're going to roll this little bastard, find out what he knows about this, because he did admit to him that he took Chase to his sin, and they had no business out there, none. So I was like, wow, we were going to find Dylan today. That was I thought we were going to find him today.
So he's claiming that, and again, help me understand this. He's claiming that his daughter and ex-wife, which I'm curious why the divorce, I'm just curious and nosy, but they turn him on to some psychic. I don't know. To me, it was just very strange. It was very all over the place. And let me tell you, in that live stream that was clipped from, I mean, he goes on and on to really, persuade you and convince you that it was the psychic that was giving him those type of ideas, and that's why he came up with it. But yeah, Delana says, talk about shady folks. I'm just happy we got to hear from someone that is actually there and actually knew Dylan, because I'm over there Monday night, quarterback telling us only one story. Yeah, I know. I was very surprised to hear Kurt came out. But again, I wasn't buying a lot of what he was saying. I'm not saying that I think, I'm even more suspicious of him. I'm just saying there were things that he was trying to convince us of that I just wasn't really buying. However, the things that he was saying about Chase seems to be able to be backed up by, public records, all the mugshots we've seen, his own family, apparently, which obviously is hearsay. But I'm thinking, no one's cleared still in my mind. All right. So we listened to him explain why he came up with that whole story about him being held hostage. It was strange to me also the way he talked about someone being held. I don't know. It was just like the way he was talking about throwing water into him. I don't know. I felt like he was overly talkative, like he was just way too rambly at some points. He said some POS did this to Dylan. He hasn't worked in 35 days. Like, since Dylan went missing, he pretty much said, yeah, I agree, Bonita Barbie. Like, great excuse, in my opinion. I hope law enforcement alibis the psychic. I do too. Like, show us the paper trail and the receipts that this is why you came up with that wild goose chase. And that's the thing too, is I was like, is the wild goose chase set up because he wants things taken off of him? And what would be the reason? Taken off of him because he doesn't want their relationship found out, or taken off of him because he had something to do with the disappearance? Now it's like it could go either way. Like, did he come up with that because of this or that, So yeah, no one's been cleared. He said something along the lines of hope Dylan didn't suffer. Like, if he did die, it sounded like he was crying. Did you guys, for those who listen, did it sound like to you guys that he was crying? This part I found out was weird. Not weird. It just not normal, I guess. I don't know. What do you guys think? The part he talked about how, because remember, Dylan was in high school still. He'd been out there 3 summers. This was the 3rd, but he was still, before he got his GED, he was going to school in Idaho. So he was home for the winters, and obviously not in Montello and not at the farm because it's off season. But Kurt said he'd call him all the time. Kurt gave him a snowmobile to borrow, and he'd send him pictures of it. So I don't know. I just have never heard of a grown adult who has children of his own, lending out a snowmobile to a non-family member. Like, to me, it would be like, just give it to your children to use, or I don't know. I just felt like that was, and that's where I'm coming from when I say, like, whatever reason he feels like he won't, from what he said, like, at this point, it's not like he's going to come around and say, like, yes, we had a relationship. Like, he's doubled down very much on this whole no, and I wouldn't associate with him if that was the case. So I don't know, guys. He's never, I don't think, ever going to admit yes or no, unless there's like some evidence that they can prove. he met Dylan through a mutual farmer, I guess. They were both working for him. Yes, I think so. Maybe even both reasons. Yeah. Yep. Hi, Allison. If Kurt blabbed about Dylan having all that money and then Dylan turned up missing, Kurt could feel guilty and have suspicions, but not exactly what happened. This can go so many different ways. Everything is on the table. Like I'm not at any point where I'm like, okay, let me mark that off. So yeah, I'm really liking all the ideas and all that in chat. I think it's definitely possible. All right. Told Dylan to get away from, okay, so the farmer that they were working for mutually, he felt like Dylan was too talented to just be there working for that guy. So it seemed like to me the whole he was motivating Dylan to get his own thing going, and that he was happy to help Dylan achieve his dream. And that's why he felt, even though he should have cut ties with Dylan because it wasn't really good business for him, he felt like he was traveling too much and being underpaid. He felt like it was worth it because he wanted to get Dylan to his dream, which was to do his own farm and all that. I love to hear that Dylan was a really skilled welder. I think that's amazing. Honestly, it's just very impressive. And I know I've seen a lot of people in chat speaking, we all really are interested in like not only getting answers in this, but like everything that we're hearing from people who spoke with Dylan, like he just sounds like a very interesting kid, like for his generation and all of that. Like it's just not every something you see every day. He was like a diamond in the rough, pretty much. So Kurt was there on Tuesday, which he said, I thought that this was interesting, that there is no militia, which again, the PI said, I shouldn't have used that terminology. Yeah, you shouldn't have, because everyone just ran with it and everyone got this whole idea. He meant to say vigilante group. So no militia, which I think we kind of all realized, like, okay, yeah, he didn't mean that. He said the vigilante group. Kurt kind of downplayed that, but did say that they have a neighborhood watch and that the cops never really had their back when things went missing and things were robbed and this and that. So they felt like they had to take it upon themselves. And again, another example of the mentality out there. Whether you agree with it or not, I mean, if somebody thinks that they can take things into their own hands in a nefarious way, then that's different than how Kurt is describing we wanted to catch robbers. There's like a fine line, pretty much. That's why we have laws and state laws and law enforcement to enforce it. But it sounds like, again, this law enforcement agency is just not anything that I've heard of before in any other cases. He agreed that Dylan was frantic about getting the seeds going. He was a week late in the farm season, but he was excited that it was going to rain because he felt like the timing was going to be perfect. So I found it interesting too that Kurt had known about Dylan being excited, because it seems like that's something that the mother has said numerous times. He was excited to get his seeds going, or he was this and that. And it was like, is Kurt just repeating things that he's heard already, or are they that close really? And Kurt is getting the same type of information and conversations that Dylan was speaking to his family about, which would kind of and could mean also that they were close in a way that, maybe they don't want us to know about. And they, I mean Kurt. 1 second, guys. Yeah, I agree, Island Girl. Someone knows something, they need to speak up. They know. So this part, all right, so he was asked, were you the one? Because remember, Chase was found running through the desert, all bloody and this and that, remember? He was asked by the YouTuber today, were you the one that beat up Kurt and made him all bloody, this and that? And he said he would have loved to have been the one to beat Chase. He's an evil POS. Drugs is the root of Chase's downfall. He's a tweaker, specifically on meth. He's known Chase for 1.5 years. Chase was okay, so this part was interesting, which we kind of knew, but I need to reiterate that it's not important, but I think it's noteworthy. Chase obviously wasn't from the area, Kurt is reiterating, and that he was an outsider and that he was sort of, the drifter and the new person in town. And, things just went from bad to worse, as far as crime, things getting robbed and stolen from. So he thinks that Chase had a lot to do with a lot of the stuff, the crime that was increased around the time he started coming through town. Because remember, it's a small town. So if one person wants to come through and wreak havoc, one person can make a significant ripple in a small area like this. And Dylan would have been a huge target. And if he did get a ride with Dylan, then he could have seen how, okay, this kid's very easily, he'd be nice. I could get him to feel sorry for me. And, he could get Dylan in a vulnerable position or situation. Sometimes being nice isn't what you should do if, there's bad people around you. Sometimes you have to drive by the hitchhiker and not give him a ride if he's looking sketchy. So I just feel like that whole encounter could have been easily a means for Chase to kind of see like, oh, okay, this guy, he'll talk to me if I need to talk to him. And Chase's son, remember, Chase's son worked on Dylan's farm too. And Chase's son is another hearsay rumor person saying Dylan was gay. Just to kind of lay out some more rumors and all that and who has said what thus far. Apparently in one encounter, Kurt noticed that Chase had a bunch of tools that looked very brand new. He speculated in this interview today that those tools were stolen and he was trying to sell them. Oh, yeah, another thing that I found was weird, and let me know what you guys think. He said the kid liked to sleep in. Like, he was talking about Dylan's, sleep pattern. Did you guys hear that? And, I'm sorry, but it just was like, okay. You've seen a little bit more than just, I don't know. Guys, I can't say with 100% certainty, but I just thought that was a strange statement to say. I don't know, to say that he liked to sleep in. He was asked if he searched for Dylan himself, and he said he himself had put 600 miles on his motorcycle, and then he'd ridden with other people to look for him also. Okay, this part I found out was kind of interesting. CDT said yes, and Candace claims he was always up early. Oh boy. I didn't even connect those dots. What? And that just kind of reiterates too, is you can't blame a mom for not really knowing things 100% if the kid isn't telling her 100% of things, So a lot of us, and we have our own personal lives, and I feel like, why would Dylan be any different? He had his own life, he had his own whatever, and it seems like it is what it is. That's why she's in the dark, on things. Yeah, I agree. There are a lot of dots that definitely line up there. Troy was the purple, Kurt and his brother. Farmers don't sleep in. You got to get up and set your water before the sun comes up, or it'll burn everything. Yeah, I don't know if I honestly don't know like what he was doing every single day out there, because they're saying also that this was the first year that like the seeds were being planted. So I don't know what pattern Kurt is envisioning and what pattern the mother is envisioning. Like, what year? Like, did he like to sleep in? Was that before he got his own like seeds and all this? Like, it just is, I don't know. Just found it interesting to note, but bottom line, Kurt knowing that along with everything else is very interesting. Yeah, I agree. Right. But as a farmer and the enthusiasm they say he had for it, sleeping in doesn't seem like that would be his thing. Yeah, sleeping in did surprise me. But I don't know. Were there nights that like he was drinking? Like, I mean, if you're hungover, you're hungover. It doesn't matter if you're a farmer or not. I mean, you're gonna sleep in. I don't know what Kurt is seeing that the mother isn't hearing. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's just a lot of unknown still, even though things are being corroborated. He said no, absolutely not. Dylan was not on any drugs. If he knew he was gay, he would have cut ties. Exact words were cut ties. Didn't think working with, and that's the other thing too, is like, okay, if you don't like gay people that much, as the way that he makes it seem, was this a hate crime? Like, it doesn't seem like that's why I'm feeling like there was something between them going on, but he might not be involved directly in the disappearance. You know what I mean? Like, he's not grasping the idea that people see him as like a suspect of the crime. He's only grasping the idea that people are speculating that there was a relationship. So he's not even interested in like clearing himself as a suspect. He's just interested in saying they weren't together romantically. But in the same sense, like, okay, so what if it could just go a different way? I guess it could go in a way that like, did he come out as gay and you didn't like that, so something had to happen? Again, speculating, but I'm just saying, it's making me feel more like Chase is a really sketchy somebody that we should be honing in on, and less like Kurt is nefarious, but I don't know 100%. Definitely seems like Kurt's lying about things, but the reason that he's lying, I don't know. It's next level love and commitment to their land. Don't speculate on that. That's fact. Huh? I don't know what that means. I'm sorry. We know he was sleeping in Montello often. It's not unheard of that maybe his help took over the morning farming jobs. Right. I mean, we don't know everything. And again, everything's on the table. People are going to speculate until we get some more facts and more statements of where this investigation is going. So he badmouthed the PI. Badmouthed the PI and said he doesn't know anything. Yeah, he got like super amped up and mad about the PI. And he said that the PI wasn't even saying his name properly. He kept calling him Kurt Venstra. And he said that the guy interviewing him, which I heard it in Scott Rice or whatever, Crime Talk, they were both saying Kurt Venstra when it's Chase Venstra. So Kurt was pretty much saying they don't even know like what's going on, and both of them didn't even correct it, this and that. He was just so mad about like his name getting wrong. He said he can't wait to take the polygraph, and the PI told him and his brothers that he would pay for them all to take a polygraph, or he would pay them $10,000 for them all to pass a polygraph. Again, we don't really on this channel put too much weight in polygraphs anyways, because they're not admissible into court. But it was interesting to hear his willingness to, yes, CDT, always same page. I thought it was interesting that they were very, very willing to take the polygraphs, which could still point, if they're so willing to take them, is it because they would pass because it's about Chase? We don't know. Or are they just putting on a front, calling our bluff? Like, yeah, I have no problem taking a polygraph. The kid the kid don't deserve to die, he said. He said the $30,000 check and one boot. Okay. I have this on audio. I want him to kind of talk about. So this was another reason why I felt like, they're very close. He knew the story about picking Chase up and all that. So let me just play that audio too. Let me find it. Hang on. And thank you guys for being here again.
Agreed, Chad.
Sure, for sure.
Yeah.
That's where it happened. I don't think he ever made it back to his farm, which was 5 miles away. He never got back there. Somebody abducted him or whacked him right there and hauled him off somewhere. And, I don't know. I hate to think that. I really think if they're being held, he's being held. I pray to God that's what's happened. The kid don't deserve to die. He just don't.
And who would have any motive to do this to him? Like,
okay, here we go. Well, for sure, because Chase has nothing. And they heard about this $30,000 check. And how ironic that Dylan stumbles into this goofball, Chase Ventura, on the road from his farm to Montello. He jumped out in front of me. Dylan told me a story. He goes, this guy jumps out in front of me, and guess who it was? I'm like, who? Chase. I mean, you're kidding. What the hell is he doing out there? I don't know. He had one boot on, a t-shirt wrapped or a sweatshirt wrapped around one foot, and his face was all scratched up. And he asked me, he goes, you got anything to drink? Dylan's like, well, I scrambled around. I found a Coke laying in my seat, warm Coke, and handed it to him. He popped the top on, took a cigarette, and swig of it, and he says, can you hear that? And Dylan's like, well, hear what? My daughter, she's calling my name. I've been looking for her for hours. I can't find her. And I was like, what? And Dylan's like, what? Your kids aren't. I don't believe your kids are out here. I mean, they're not here. He goes, well, yeah, they're all three here. But I hear my daughter the most. She's the one calling my name the most, and I can't find her. And he says, I've lost my gun. I laid my gun down. I can't find my gun, and I can't find my motorhome.
So it sounds like he was tweaked out, basically.
Well, I think there's more than tweak. I think he's on something worse than that. Because tweakers, that just makes them. I don't know what do you call it. I don't know. They're just ambitious, I guess. But they can stay up for hours and hours. That's what I understand about shit. I would never do it, but I just talk to people. What the high is of that shit. So anyway, Dylan said, me and Dylan talked about Chase. I said, man, if you ever see this guy or if he ever wants to drop some, run from him because he's just bad news. He goes, I heard that from Randy. Randy already told me about him because Randy, which is a guy that Dylan was going to work for, Randy already warned me about him, that he's just bad news. He's on meth and he stole a bunch of fuel from me and broke a couple of my tractors and had a woman out there on a tractor. My insurance don't cover that kind of stuff. As soon as Randy found that out, he fired him.
So this is Chase doing all this stuff.
Yep. He got a good job.
And is this the only reason that you don't like Chase? Like, is there like a long-standing Hatfield and McCoy type thing, or you guys just don't like him because he's a thief?
When I realized he was stealing shit out here, he would come to my place and get water. Like, I invited him. I told him he could go stay at my place if he wanted. Well, that would have been a bad, but he didn't take me up on that offer.
All right. So yes, that stood out to me too, CDT. So Chase, when that encounter took place, had one boot on and the other foot was wrapped in, he said, t-shirt, sweatshirt. PI has said over and over, barefoot. And the mother, I think, has said barefoot too. Still noteworthy because if he needed to wrap his shirt around his other foot, it was because he knew in firsthand that, the hot sun makes, the walking area too hot to have like your barefoot on. So that means that Chase knows for sure that Dylan, if he was to take him off there, if Dylan was barefoot, then he would be in an advantage over Dylan to put him in bare feet out there. Whatever, speculation, of course. But do you guys see what I'm getting at? Kurt said that Candace and Justin, Dylan's parents, had no idea how to get to the farm. They had never been out there. So I thought that was interesting. Dylan talked to his brother Scott, the one that has that really nasty criminal background, but they weren't really friends. No, they weren't friends, but they did speak. I thought that this was interesting. I put it in quotes. I know everything about Dylan. They don't know shit. He didn't talk to his parents much, and he told me that. So he's just reiterating more of their, private conversations pretty much, and saying that, the parents just didn't know what was going on, I guess. Or you guys, you listen to it and you take it for what you will. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but he pretty much said that they didn't talk much. He didn't talk to his parents much. That's just what he's saying. And again, what if that was known and somebody's seen that as a means to target him because they knew, like, okay, well, no one's in contact with him from what I hear, through rumor mill, not necessarily from Kurt, but just if that was the rumor, I don't know. Okay. So, all right, yeah. So he was pretty much going on a rant. Bastards calling me gay. I want to rub it in their faces. And I just said that he was more concerned about clearing up those rumors than the rumor that he could possibly be a suspect in this crime. So then the PI goes on his interview live stream after Kurt's. And that was also on No Thanks. And he says, it was a short live stream, like 13 minutes. And he says, the PI says, Kurt is lying. I do agree there was, okay, so he was saying, the PI was saying that the answers were being led through and given to Kurt. Take it how you guys will. I thought the YouTuber did a good job considering, I'm not out there interviewing these people. So kudos to her for doing it and interviewing him. But the PI didn't think it was good. But he said, so the PI claims that Kurt was telling some truth, but he did search with Dylan's father. He doesn't know why he said no. And yes, he did confirm that Troy did fall off a three-wheeler, which why didn't the PI ever tell us that? But he's claiming that the scratches were there before the three-wheeler accident, but we don't have proof of that. But I mean, it could be true. I'm just saying we don't have proof of it. So there was a caller that called in and was backing up some of these rumors and speculation. He's a townie. He's a local. He pretty much said that Scott and his ex-girlfriend Robin are bad people. Common knowledge is Kurt is gay behind closed doors, but is in denial publicly. Everyone knows Chase is a thief. This caller in the local said someone got beat and robbed, and Chase is an outsider. And okay, yeah, so I already told you that he was saying that things went from bad to worse around there when Chase started living in the area. He said something along the lines of Kurt waits for new money to come through town and then he jumps on it. I don't know if he's insinuating that Kurt has groomed people before or whatever. I don't know. This is just rumor of somebody from the area. Dylan was swimming with a bunch of sharks around there, and he even talked badly about the guy who owns land out there, Ed Harshberg or something. He pretty much said, look up Ed Harshberg. He's a terrible landowner, or something along the lines of him just being a bad character, which I'm not surprised at considering all the other bad characters we've uncovered in this case already. So, guys, that is everything that I have as far as the notes. Now, let me just see what you guys are saying in chat. I mean, what are you guys thinking thus far? Like, what are you guys thinking? Yeah, sounds like grooming going on. Oh, good night, Island Girl. Thanks for being here. Thank you so much. Yeah, Candace has said that she said somebody was always in contact with him. And to me, that seems strange because it's like, but are you? But I don't know. Every family dynamic in these cases we end up digging into, and it's just true crime. It's part of true crime. No problem, Delana. Hi, Kelly. It's all so frustrating, and it doesn't seem like it's going to be a good outcome. I agree. I mean, it's just someone take this offer on this reward, come forward, say something, whatever you know. But what do you guys, did you guys understand what I was talking about with the feet? If he knew enough to wrap a t-shirt around his bare foot out in the desert, Chase, then the fact that Dylan is missing his shoes, to me, it's like interesting connection. But yeah, guys, I mean, these are all the updates right now. Let me see, because I had heard that there was going to be some live stream with somebody, Kurt's son or something. Let me see if it's going on. And that's the thing is like
gone in 140.
It was supposed to be on No Thanks, but I don't see. I don't see anything. So no update right now, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. Thank you guys for being here. Hopefully we get some closure. I mean, I know everyone's kind of saying the same thing. This doesn't sound good. This doesn't look good. This reward, it could change someone's life if they could come forward and do the right thing, or I don't think that this is going to go away. It's going to be like any other case that we kind of get stuck on. And I feel like I need to know what happened here. all that information about Dylan that's vital and important is here on the screen. Yeah, call in the tip line. FBI is involved. I don't think I have anything else to really talk about or run through right now. If something stands out, I can add it on the community page, and then, yeah. So thank you again. Yeah, I agree, Carol. I don't believe that this is a random or a stranger for drugs or money, because they would have taken their loot and left anybody. The fact that Dylan's missing tells me it's someone that knew him. Yeah, I agree, because his rifle, or his shotgun was still in the trailer. I just wonder. Yes, Crazy Crime Chick, we did. I just played the clip about the neighbor's arrest warrant, and they were just reiterating this doesn't necessarily have anything to do with Dylan's disappearance. It's just public record, and so everyone knows there is another individual close to Dylan and his farm that has now been who is a felon, and there is an arrest warrant out for. So that was the update amongst the Kurt interview. Crazy, did you watch the Kurt interview? You're welcome, Mel Mac. Thank you. Thank you. I love listening to you and Kelly, CDT. Y'all are so professional and thought-provoking for me. I'm so glad that you think so, and because sometimes I wonder if am I making sense? Like, because there's just a lot going on in my head. No worries. Glad you're here. And thank you all for showing up and being here too. Again, like this video, share it, and spread the word too about Dylan if you can. So, all right, guys. I will talk to you guys soon, and hopefully we get some answers in this case. And thank you again. Bye.